With the first pick of the NFL draft, the state of Connecticut trades Dan Malloy for Christie. And we'll throw in Chris Murphy, too. Ladies and gentlemen, I am so proud to be here today. My name is Senator Rob Kane. In 2 weeks, I truly feel that we're going to make history in this state. We're going to elect more Republicans to the State House and State Senate to combat the tax and spend one-party rule in Hartford. We're going to elect a Republican Congress. Today, Andrew Rohrbeck is here with us for the 5th district. We're going to elect Mitt Romney, the President of the United States. And lastly, and certainly not least, we're going to elect a pro-growth, pro-jobs, and pro-small business leader to the United States Senate. We have come to know her by one name, Linda. Linda's got a plan that will put middle-class America back to work. Linda's plan cuts taxes for the middle class. Linda's plan cuts tax on business. Linda's plan reduces job and environment regulations. And Linda's plan reduces spending each year. Linda's plan empowers a skilled workforce. Linda's plan develops American energy resources. Ladies and gentlemen, Linda McMahon has a plan. Now, Linda's opponent is quick to criticize Linda's jobs plan. But you see, there's a problem with that. Linda's opponent has been in Congress 6 years, and you know what? He doesn't have a plan. He actually said his plan is a work in progress. You know what he didn't say? What he didn't say is that if he's elected, we will all get more of the same. More taxes, more wasteful spending, more burdensome regulations, and more pathetic job growth. You see, Linda's opponent has never created a job. But he's from the government, and supposedly he's here to help. Ladies and gentlemen, taxpayers of Greater Waterbury, let me introduce you to a woman who will put you first. Let me introduce you to a woman who is an independent thinker, someone whose concrete, detailed plans to create jobs here in Waterbury and across Connecticut and across our country. A leader who will move this state and country forward. Let me introduce you to a woman who in 2 weeks will make history in the state of Connecticut and become the first ever female U.S. Senator from the great state of Connecticut.
That's what I love about Waterbury. You're always so shy and retiring. Thank you, Bob, Senator Kane, very, very much. A big shout out to Andrew Rohrbeck. And I would love to serve in Washington with Congressman Rohrbeck. So let's make sure he's there. This is really, really fantastic. Thank you so much for taking time to come out today. I love being the opening act for Governor Christie. And I am just so proud to have him here with me today to share in this enthusiastic welcome to Waterbury. So you know what we have to do in 2 weeks, don't you? Yes. We have to get our folks to the polls. We have to make sure that everybody gets to the polls. We have to make sure that each of you are ambassadors leaving today. That you are calling on our field offices, knocking on doors, putting signs up, talking about the candidacy, getting our folks elected, because it doesn't matter how good our campaigns are, how good our candidates are, how strong our messages are. If we don't get people to the polls on November 6th, it will not matter. So we must do that. And you've all already been so supportive, but I'm asking you to reach down deep yet one more time. Because we cannot send Chris Murphy to Washington. Again. As Senator Kane said, I have a plan, he doesn't. He's raised taxes on the middle class. My plan is to reduce taxes on the middle class. He's never created a job. I've created over 600 jobs here in Connecticut. He voted twice to reduce funding for our shipyard with electric boat in Groton. I will fight tooth and nail to make sure that all of our defense jobs here in Connecticut are maintained, because it is the security of the United States and the economy of Connecticut which is at stake. We must fight for those jobs. So we asked Congressman Murphy about his plan. He says he doesn't need to talk about his plan because he has a record that you can look at. Well, let's take a look. 23 million people are out of work or underemployed around our country. 170,000 people woke up today in Connecticut without a job. Not a very good track record. Our debt has almost doubled since he's been in Congress. Our deficit has increased. Taxes, he's voted for tax increases on the middle class. Not a very good record. It's not the record I want for you. It's not the record that I go to Washington to fight for you. But if you want more of the same, just re-elect, or not re-elect, but send Congressman Murphy now over to the Senate. I don't think that's what we want. Do you want that? No! I'm glad to hear it. We've got a really tight race going on here. We're going to need to count on every single vote. Every vote is important. So please, again, make sure that you get folks out to the polls. So I am very enthusiastic. I'm feeling really good about our race because I think we've got the right message. We've got the right message as Senator Kane went through the points of my plan. And please do check it out on lindasplan.com if you haven't already. You can see all the different aspects of those points. So I'm very enthusiastic about this race. I got into this race looking at the faces of my 6 little grandchildren. Well, it was only 4 then. I have 6 now. And my daughter and daughter-in-law have said, be happy with what you've got. Not likely going to have any more. But we are blessed with our 6 grandchildren. But when I look at their little faces and wondered what kind of legacy I was going to leave for them, mounting debt, growing deficit, and I wanted to make sure that they could have the same opportunities here in America that their grandfather and I had. We had an opportunity to come back after failure. We were bankrupt and we lost everything. Our home, our car, but we had a chance to come back. And I want to make sure that they have the opportunity to take risks, maybe to fail, but to get themselves back up and to go on and be successful. I'm grateful for the success that we've had. And I want to make sure that generations after generations have that same opportunity for success. Now we know we can't ever guarantee success. I can't guarantee you that I'd be successful in Washington, but I'll tell you one thing. you'll have 110% of my effort, and I will work for you every single day. So again, I want to thank you all so very, very much for coming out this afternoon. And I'm sure that you are all very anxious to hear from our special guest that we have this afternoon. So without further ado, let me introduce you to the Honorable Governor from the state of New Jersey, Christie.
Future United States Senator Linda McMahon for having me here today. Now, you all may know, before I took this government job, I had another one right before it. I was the chief federal prosecutor in New Jersey for 7 years. We call that shooting fish in a barrel. And so those old habits of a prosecutor die hard. And you know what they taught you as a prosecutor, when I tried to teach my young prosecutors, when you're trying to sum up the case, when you're looking at the jury in the final moments before they're going to make their decision, don't use your own words. Choose your own words. Use the words of the evidence of the other side to try to make the case much more powerful. So I can tell you all these great things about Linda McMahon, and maybe I will over the course of the next couple of minutes. But Senator Kane's already laid out her plan. You've already heard from her. And there's no better witness for Linda McMahon than Linda McMahon. And so let's talk for a second about Linda McMahon's opponent, Congressman Chris Murphy. Now, all right, so I started with a bit of an advantage. I have to tell you, I look at Washington, D.C. now, and I look at both parties. And it really disturbs me. And I think it disturbs you too. The Congress in America has become a place where no work gets done for the people of this country. It's a place where people are just posturing and posing and preening and sending out press releases criticizing each other, but forgetting the essential, elemental truth of who sent them there to do the work. It was us. They forgot who sent them there and what they're supposed to be doing. Congressman Chris Murphy is a poster boy for this attitude. He goes into his partisan caucus and into the partisan corner of his partisan caucus and votes the party line each and every time, whether that's what's best for the people of Connecticut or not. He does it because that's what the party leaders tell him to do. That's what the people who have funded his campaign tell him to do. They tell him not to put the people of Connecticut first, not the people of his district first, but to put his party first. Well, you know what? The problems of America and Connecticut are too big anymore to let your party rule what you do, your conscience better rule what you do, and that's what Linda McMahon will do when you send her to the United States Senate. Has not given you one indication in the entirety of his career as an elected politician that he'd be willing to put his hand across the aisle and work with the other side. Not one example he cites you when he's worked on a meaningful issue with a Republican, with an independent, with anyone who's trying to solve the problems that we have here, not just vote in line with the party leadership. I mean, listen, you got a clear choice here. You can vote for a smart, independent, accomplished businesswoman, or you can vote for Nancy Pelosi's butler. That's your choice. Being Nancy Pelosi's butler may not be a bad job for Chris Murphy, but it is a bad job for the people of Connecticut, and we need to send him back home to Connecticut. See, Linda's shown over the course of her entire career that she doesn't care whether an idea is a Republican idea, a Democratic idea, or an independent idea. What Linda cares about is it a good idea? Is it a good idea that'll help to create jobs? Is it a good idea that'll help to create profit? Is it a good idea that'll help to build a business and more businesses beyond that? That'll help to put people back to work? Are the ideas good ideas? If they're good ideas, they're ideas that she'll get behind, and if they're bad ideas, they're ideas that she'll fight against. But she's not going to do that just based upon party. So you're going to hear a lot of garbage over the last 2 weeks. They're going to tell you Connecticut's a blue state. And as a blue state, you must vote for a Democrat for the United States Senate. That's what they're going to tell you. But there's no reason for you not to. That in fact it would be contrary for a blue state to vote for a Republican. Well, guess what? Here's living proof that ain't true. In New Jersey, 3 years ago, they elected a Republican governor, and boy, those Democrats, they were all saying, the talking heads in the media too, they were saying, oh, this won't work. It'll be gridlock. Nothing will get done. Look at what's happened in New Jersey. Cut over $2 billion in taxes. Balance 3 budgets in a row without raising taxes on the people of New Jersey for the first time in decades. Reform the oldest teacher tenure law in America to say something very simple, that we love our teachers, and we want them to succeed, and we want the good ones to be paid more, but we want the ineffective ones to be shown the door. That's what all those things were done with bipartisan support, everybody. See, because I have a majority Democratic state Senate and a majority Democratic state Assembly. There's nothing I can get accomplished in New Jersey without it being bipartisan. And so you have to decide, are you going to reach across the aisle and make things work for people? Are you going to compromise at the moments that don't compromise your principle, but don't give you everything you want either? You have to find that middle ground to be able to work together and get things done. And that's why people in New Jersey are so happy with the way their state's going now compared to 3 years ago. Imagine if we sent some Republicans to the United States Senate who cared more about getting things done than they cared about being partisan. You've got one right here, Linda McMahon. Let's send her there. Here's another thing you know about Linda. She shows up to work every day. She works hard. You cannot say the same thing about her opponent. Her opponent does not show up every day to work, hasn't shown up every day to work, has skipped all kinds of votes and responsibilities in Washington, D.C. Why to play politics? Here's what you know. Here's what you know about Linda McMahon. She will go to work every day for the people of Connecticut. She will not forget who sent her here. She will not be a handmaiden to the party bosses. She will be the loyal servant of the people of Connecticut. She deserves her vote. And we in these states like Connecticut and New Jersey, who have trended to be blue states over time, we need to make sure that we insert some independence into this process. We can't let one party take the state of Connecticut or the state of New Jersey for granted. We have to make sure that we have all the ideas at the table to try to solve the problems that face Connecticut and the problems that face New Jersey and the problems that face our country. You know, especially here in New England, that the independence that this country fought for 236 years ago is not something that's to be taken for granted. Now, I was in Virginia last week, campaigning in Virginia, And I use this quote, and I want to use it for you tonight, to try to make sure you understand the depth of the challenge our country faces, and how important it is for you to do everything you can in the next 14 days to support Linda McMahon. So a little bit north of here, we had a guy who helped to establish this country and the principles that we still defy today. And you know, when you're in Virginia, all they want to do is talk about George Washington and Thomas Jefferson and James Madison. And I had to remind them that up north, there was a key thinker as well. And his name was John Adams. Yeah. He was the man who stood on the floor of the Continental Congress and argued for independence. He was the man who led our country to its alliances in France and helped to win this war. He's the man who made principled compromise when it needed to be made in order to advance the cause of our country and his fellow citizens. And after nearly 50 years of America's existence, John Adams was near death. And he wrote in his diary, and he wrote not for himself, but he wrote this for us. And I think he was writing particularly with a mind towards a time where we face challenges like the one we face today. And let me tell you what Adams wrote in that diary. He wrote, "You shall never know the sacrifices that we made to secure for you your liberty. I pray you will make good use of it. For if you do not, I shall repent in heaven for ever having made the sacrifice at all." John Adams and the men who helped and women who helped to form this country sacrificed greatly to give us the liberty we have today. What would they say as they look down from heaven today, as I'm confident they are, at a country that is squandering its wealth with $16 trillion in debt, at a country that is adding $1 trillion a year or more to its debt on the backs of its children and grandchildren, to a country that has so lost its way that it is failing the fundamental test that they laid out for us 236 years ago. And that was that every generation of Americans had the solemn obligation to leave this country better for the next generation than it was left to them. And I want to tell you something. I refuse to willingly be part of a generation, the first generation of Americans who fails that test. I will not sit by and allow us to bury our heads in the sand, to assuage ourselves with the creature comforts that we've earned, and say these problems are too big and we are too small to fix them. That is not the America I know. That is not the America you know. And I see a lot of vets out here. A lot of vets. I want to thank you for your service. Life on the line for, and that many of your colleagues, friends, compatriots gave their lives for. You see, we have to turn this country around. And we can't look for somebody else to fix the problem. We have to fix the problem ourselves. Each and every one of us has to take the responsibility. Your responsibility starts in the next 14 days. Linda McMahon has stepped up. She has taken the responsibility for her share of turning America around by offering herself for service to the public in the United States Senate. Now what will we do? In the next 14 days, I hope that you'll remember that John Adams is looking down from heaven, preparing to repent for the sacrifice that he and his wife made to give us our liberty. And decide, open that calendar. I don't care if that calendar's in one of these iPhones or Galaxies or whatever heck you got, or whether it's still in a paper book, whatever it's in. I want you to look at that calendar when you leave here today. I want to see what you had scheduled for the next 14 days. And I'd like each and every person in this room to say, I will give 1 hour a day for the next 14 days to turn my country around. I'll give 1 hour a day to Linda McMahon for the next 14 days, knocking on doors, making telephone calls, calling friends and neighbors. It doesn't have to be that complicated. It could be at the football game on Friday night. It could be at the soccer field on Saturday morning. It could be in the church parking lot on Sunday morning. It could be around the water cooler at work on Monday. It could be in the supermarket checkout line on Tuesday afternoon. It could be in the playground where you pick up your children from school on Wednesday. I don't care where you get it done. With all these stickers that I see you have on today and the buttons that have Linda's name on them, I want you to wear them every day for the next 14 days. I want you to put them on and wear them with pride. And when people ask you about that button or that sticker and say, why are you wearing it? This is what you tell them. You say, I've been in the same room with Linda McMahon. I've listened to her. I've looked her in the eye. I've taken the measure of her character. And I am working the next 14 days because I believe she will be part of a movement that will restore our country to greatness. Look her in the eye and say, do you want to sit on the sidelines or do you want to be part of that movement with me? Well, let me tell you, good people in America and Connecticut will say, yes, I want to be part of that movement with you. But you have to ask. You have to ask them to be part of it. You can't sit by and expect they're just going to do it. People are working hard to keep a roof over their head, to put food on the table, to save money to send their kids to school. A lot of them just can't be here today like you're here. They're not as involved as you are. But it doesn't mean they're not good citizens of Connecticut and not good citizens of our country. They want to do the right thing. Let's help them do the right thing. You look them in the eye and you tell them, listen, trust me. I know this is the right thing for Connecticut. I know this is the right thing for our country. Put your hand out, shake their hand and say together, let's not just work for a candidate. Let's be part of a movement that restores pride in our country, both here and around the world, a movement that lets us be responsible again to the next generations. A movement that says we will not be the first to fail the next generation. We will leave a greater America than was left to us by voting for Linda McMahon. Let me guarantee you one thing, everybody. I've been around this game a little bit, and I know a professional politician when I see one. I know, you see, there's two types of politicians. Only two. I'm not talking about Republicans and Democrats. There's only two types. At core. There are those who want to be something, and those who want to do something. Linda's whole life. Her whole life's been about doing things. About creating wealth for others. About creating jobs. Building businesses. Building a family that she could be proud of and you could be proud of too. Congressman Murphy is just about accumulating the next title. The next title. His whole life has been about running for elected office, from one to the next to the next. Every one just another stepping stone, stepping on the next one to get to the next higher office, without an idea of what he wants to do when he gets there, except just to own the title. Well, let me tell you something. Linda McMahon already has more titles than she knows what to do with. She's a CEO, she's a mother, she's a wife, she's a grandmother, and she's a proud citizen of Connecticut. Let's finally elect someone who doesn't need the job. Who doesn't need it to make them feel like they're worthwhile. Let's elect someone who wants to do the job because they believe they can make a difference in our country. That's what we need to do, and she's the person to do it. So I'm going to end with this. Take it from me. In the next 2 weeks, there'll be lots of people who will tell you when you go up to them after you explain why you have that sticker on and you ask to be part of the movement, they're not believers yet. They say to you, can she really win? I mean, she's a Republican. Can she really win here? Am I wasting my vote if I vote for her? Is it the wrong thing for me to do? Should I just vote Democrat like I've always voted Democrat, like the way I've been taught to do it? And let me tell you, when they say, I'd like to vote for Linda, but I'm not sure that I can because I'm not sure she can win. I'm not sure if she wins, she can make a difference. That's the moment. That's the moment when you look at it and say, look about 100 miles to the south to New Jersey. Republicans can win, and do make a difference when we get involved. say that New Jersey is no different today than it would have been if we had re-elected John Corzine. And let me tell you this, you don't want to wake up on November 7th and find that you are stuck with another professional politician, another artist of vanity, a butler for Nancy Pelosi. You don't want to be stuck with that person representing you for the next 6 years in the United States Senate. Now, you want to wake up on November 7th and say, not only did you vote the right way, but that you were part of that movement that we talked about. That you were part of something bigger than your own self-interest. That you were part of something that changed the face of the history of our country and the history of your state. That you were part of electing someone to the United States Senate who you could look at your sons and daughters and say, there is a role model. There's someone that you can be proud of. There's someone who I feel proud that I voted for. You want to wake up on November 7th and say, not that we did the same old thing that we do all the time and expect a different result, but that this time we used our common sense. If we keep sending the same damn people back to Washington, we're going to keep getting the same lousy Washington, D.C. Let's send a new person to Washington. We'll help to change that city. So I came up here in 2010 and I enthusiastically campaigned for Linda. And I'm back here now. I called and asked to come back here. I called and asked to come back here because I believe that much in her. I said, if you think I can help, let me come up and help you, because I believe in somebody like Linda who has built her life from the ground up based upon family and principles that we all believe in. That integrity matters, that ingenuity matters, and that work ethic is still what determines winners and losers in the United States of America, not a bunch of bureaucrats sitting in cubicles in Washington, D.C., which is what the Democrats want you to do. What we want is to work with everybody, work together to solve the problems that need to be solved for this country. Only Republicans and Democrats and independents can do that together, and the only way we can show that it will really work is for a blue state like Connecticut to say, we're not going to do what we've always done before. We're going to break away from the old orthodoxy that hasn't worked, and we're going to send a Republican from a blue state to go to Washington, D.C. and make a difference. We're going to be able to do that.